Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today on this first day of Build with Mapbox. You've made it to What's New in Mapbox Maps, Build 2025 Highlights. And our speaker today is Greg Banneker from the Product Marketing Managing Team of the Maps division here at Mapbox. I'm Marina Smith. I'll just be helping out with hosting the session. Before we get started, just a few logistical notes. First off, if you haven't seen it already, all build sessions are recorded and will be available to view after the event. Greg, could we advance to the next slide just to show folks if you do need captions, either for translation or to be able to read on the screen, you can enable that using the captions button at the bottom of your Zoom window. We will be saving some time at the end of this session for live Q&A. If you would like to submit a question to Greg, please use the Zoom Q&A feature. That helps us keep track of the questions instead of just in the chat. And then you'll be able to find the recording for this session and all other ones back in the Zoom event lobby. So that's it for me on logistical notes. So with that, I'll welcome Greg to the virtual stage.
Hey, thank you, Marina. Appreciate it. My name is Greg Banneker, and actually, Marina, can you just give me a thumbs up that you can hear me? Everything's good?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, cool. My name is Greg Banneker. I am the product marketer for Maps, and today I want to talk about what's new in Maps for 2025 and even beyond. And I would like you to view this session as your opportunity to see like what we're going to talk about throughout this week. And in fact, at times I'll even be referencing like, okay, here's this example of something we worked on, and there'll be sessions on Tuesday or Wednesday just to give you sort of like directions on where to go throughout the week to find out more. So I do have a quick agenda here, but I got a lot to go through, so I'm going to sort of breeze through that. So like I said, I'm a product marketer for Maps right now, and the first thing I wanted to sort of level set on is what do we mean when we say like Maps at Mapbox? So for starters, we talk about the visual base map. Now this is the sort of like canvas with some underlying data that forms the visual base map that you end up using and your users end up consuming. But then we do add a lot of data onto that base map. So what you're seeing right now, for example, could be POIs or street labels, 3D buildings, custom designed 3D buildings. So we add a ton of data onto that base map, and much of that data is owned by our maps team. But then you bring your data, and that's really where like the map really comes alive, where Mapbox shines as a tool, and then what we really value, which is our customers and their custom data, and how they turn that base map into something that's actually useful for the consumer. So in this case, data could be like listings. This is a real estate map, but you bring your data, and that's what we really love about Mapbox. And then finally, you can add interactivity either to base map elements, either two elements that come on the base map out of the box, or you could add interactivity to something that you bring to the map, interactivity like zooming and panning or tilting or any way that you make the map interactive. That's also part of like what we call Mapbox Maps. And so this is kind of how I define Mapbox Maps and a way that we would like everyone to sort of think about maps. And the first is that maps are multidimensional. So we want to build the most beautiful, accurate, symbolic representation of the world in 2D, in 3D, and in HD. Next, we want to make those maps adaptable. So we want to build the best tools for creating immersive and customized maps that suit the precise needs of you and your end users. Of course, we also want to make those maps performant. So we want to do this, the multi-dimensions, the adaptability. We want to do this without significant impact to the performance of your map and application. And that is a challenge sometimes as we add more and more to the base map, but we always have a focus, like a hyper focus on maintaining the performance of the map. And then finally, we want to make those maps simple to build. So we want to do everything I just talked about, but make it as easy as possible to implement, saving developers time and frustration. And then I'm sure everyone's noticed, but yes, so the way to think about maps is maps, multi-dimensional, adaptable, performant, and simple to build. So we've got an acronym here to kind of help you understand how we view maps and how we try and build maps and the mapping tools to help you. Okay, so let's talk about like what we worked on in 2025 and even some things that are coming towards the end of the year and moving into next year. Okay, first off, we recently released V4 of Mapbox Standard, our 3D base map. You've heard a lot about it so far, but Standard is now the most customizable, full-featured 3D base map available. So there will be several sessions throughout build focusing on Mapbox Standard, on why we feel 3D is very important, on how to customize the Mapbox Standard base map, and how to use Standard to easily get started building your map experiences. Even many sessions that aren't focused on standard will still be using standard as the default base map for their demonstration. So this is really the Mapbox map is Mapbox standard, this 3D base map. So we do believe that standard is the future of mapping for the industry and for most Mapbox customers. So we're super excited to show you what we've been working on. Now, we're also working to build the most immersive 3D base map available. So, one feature that we released this year is called 3D animated weather. You can see the GIF here. It's the ability to add rain or snow effects to your map or tap into a live weather API and then reflect those rain or snow conditions right there on the map. So, for example, we've seen an awesome example of a ski application add snow conditions to their app just to create that immersive environment. We've also seen a real estate organization that manages communities in mountainous areas where snow is kind of a selling point. We've seen them add snow to their real estate maps to create that sort of wintry vibe that helps sell the location. So these effects, they do work in 2D or 3D, again, helping to create that immersive 3D environment. They work on Mapbox Standard, so they really complement the 3D structures in Mapbox Standard. Okay, we're also working to build the most accurate base map. So in Standard V4, we've expanded base map coverage with detailed points of interest sourced from the Mapbox POI dataset. So the POI dataset is sourced from over 330 million locations globally. These include like stores, restaurants, hotels, and more. And they're also complete with accurate metadata like opening hours, reviews, and contact info. So as a result of the POI expansion that we've added to Mapbox Standard, Standard now offers the most coverage and POI recency of any of our Mapbox map styles. You'll hear more about this in later sessions for Mapbox Standard. But when a user looks for a POI on the map, the POI results now are more likely to be present and more likely to include highly accurate associated location information. Like I said, like opening hours, ratings, etc. But let's talk about the next dimension. So some things we're very excited about that are coming soon. So not live yet, but coming soon, and you will hear about these in sessions coming up this week. So later this year, we're adding to the 3D base map more detailed building designs, which enrich the traditional cube-like building extrusions with window facades, building entrances, and roof types. And you can see an image here on the slide. So Mapbox will now offer the only 3D base map with the level of coverage and accuracy of these types of detailed building exteriors that you can access anywhere. So to be honest, these procedural buildings, as we call them, they just look incredibly cool. And you are going to be impressed when you open the base map and see these live on the base map. But there is also utility to this. So, for example, for navigation, these procedural buildings, these more detailed buildings, they help visually separate the cube-like block or structures into separately identifiable buildings. So sometimes if you can see like on a city block, it just feels like a long rectangular prism of buildings. This will help separate those buildings into their individual structures, which can add context and help for navigation. We're also we're also adding entrance details, which could help like get a delivery driver to an entrance, for example. We also see these procedural buildings creating a more immersive experience that could be leveraged for like a travel application or real estate, where you want to convey like the real characteristic of a place or a building, which can help drive more map engagement. So also coming soon is indoor mapping. So we're moving from like the 3D dimension outdoors to the 3D dimension as well indoors. The first step of this is going to be a data set of indoor airport maps that will be included by default in Mapbox Standard. Again, so not included yet, but we are working to include these by default in Mapbox Standard. So we're aiming to solve the frustration of airport drop-off and pickups. We all are familiar with that frustration. So like, where's the terminal entrance? Where do I go to get picked up by my ride share? We'll also be releasing the rendering functionality to bring your own indoor maps to the 3D base map. So if you source or design your own indoor maps, we'll give you the functionality to bring them and make them look and feel like they belong on Mapbox Standard 3D base map. So this could help with on-demand delivery drivers who want to navigate like a mall to pick up a food order, for example. Or it could be used to like map large warehouses and figure out how to allocate resources within them appropriately. And then finally, for the next dimension is also HD roads. So we'll be adding HD roads by default to the 3D base map. And these provide detailed lane level guidance. So the details in the roads are now going to also match like the three-dimensional details of the buildings that we've added in urban areas. And throughout this week, you'll hear a lot more about HD roads, often in our navigation sessions, but they will also be added to Mapbox Standard, the 3D base map. All right, let's move on to adaptability. So as part of Mapbox Standard, the base map now offers designers and developers the ability to control the color appearance of almost all major map features. So with the latest release, plus the ability to adjust light settings, which already existed, you can also apply an overall color aesthetic with lookup tables. You can easily build a map that feels completely custom and branded, all in 3D. So we will spend time during build showing you how we've made it super simple to implement much of this directly in Studio or in your code. So we actually have a session later today that I'd love for you to attend where we're introducing standard in general and helping you understand like the thought processes and structure behind the style. And then on Thursday, we're going in depth on how to actually customize the style. So if you're interested in Mapbox Standard and how to customize it, definitely check out those sessions. With the latest release of Standard, we also have now included a set of beautiful stylized landmark POI icons that complement the custom designed 3D models that already existed on the base map. So these new landmark icons give location context at a glance. So they immediately provide a more intuitive and immersive map experience right at map load. You can see them right on the map before you zoom in, and they really help orient within a city. We've added interactive map features, which is a much more simplified way of building interactivity into your icons or buildings. This helps create like a much more engaging map experience. And actually on Friday, and I'll be part of this session, we have a session called Up Leveling Your Map Icons and adding certain certain interactivity will be part of that like builder session where we show you, okay, here's how to add it, here's why you may want to, and here's how to make your map feel a lot more engaging. So check out Up Level Your Map Icons on Friday. We've also added MTS incremental updates. MTS is the go-to tool for turning custom data sets into fast, scalable tile sets. But until now, if you wanted to keep your tile set fresh and you only had a small change, you had to reprocess the whole tile set. So we've actually now added the ability to just reprocess that delta or that change. And it's saving like a ton of time on the processing end and like with managing your tile sets and getting fresh data to your end users sooner. So on Thursday, we have a session all about the improvements we've added to MTS. This will just be one part of it if you want to hear more about that. But that's going to be a very engaging session about everything that we've done with MTS this year and moving forward. And I'll also be part of that. We've also launched Mapbox geofencing. This is something we have been talking about for a while, so this is still live, and we're bringing that to GA later in the year. Um, Geofencing basically allows you to add an invisible geofence around a location and then trigger an alert when someone enters or exits that location. So it could be like in the examples you see here, if you wanted like a family tracking app where you wanted to monitor someone, like a kid if they made it to school and get an alert, or if you're like a retail organization and you wanted to send an in-app promotion when someone is nearby a store, the geofencing API can handle this. A couple things that are coming soon. The first is icon appearances. And this is an easy, simplified way to change the appearance of an icon. So you can see some examples here. I'll just talk about the one on the right is like if you wanted to show the available charge at a charging station for an electric vehicle, you can build that icon change into the map. Sort of related is animated icons. And this is, again, going to be a simplified way to build icon animation. You can see some examples here. Like if you hover over or click on an icon, it grows. This is, again, just a way to create map interactivity, and both appearances and icon animations will go into more in depth at our Uplevel Your Icon session. And that's on Friday. Let's talk about performance really quick. So, like I said, performance is really an obsession of Mapbox, and as we add more and more features to the base map or functionality within the SDK, we of course know that there could be like a performance sacrifice to that. So we are constantly working to maintain high performance while adding new features and functionality for you. For example, with the latest release of Standard, we've reduced the size of the underlying base map data structure by 20%. So even though we're adding this new customization and new features, we were able to reduce the underlying data structure by 20%. And we'll talk more about that in the Standard sessions. We're also excited to announce that we've actually reduced the size of offline tile packs by up to 40%. There's a lot of benefits to reducing that size by up to 40%. I'm not going to go into all of it right now, but we do also have a session about tilepacks v2 or like our offline tilepacks optimization. It's called Under the Hood of Offline Tilepacks. And we're going to, in that session, we're going to give you an idea of like how we think about offline and some of the steps we took to reduce the size of our offline tile packs and why and what all the benefits are to you. Okay, and the last thing I want to cover is simple to build. And I just have one thing to talk about here, something that at Mapbox internally we're super excited about. So, towards the end of this year, we're going to release something called the Data Workbench, which is a new tool that simplifies how developers upload, edit, and publish custom geospatial data on Mapbox Maps. So, we're actually currently providing limited access to the Workbench for select customers this month just to help us test it out. But we will expand to a larger audience towards the end of the year. The data workbench is going to allow you to drag and drop files, update recipes, and view tiles in real time. So it's a huge thing for a lot of our customers. You're going to be able to update your recipe with Mapbox Tiling Service and view the changes that that makes in real time without having to like publish the tile set and kind of guess and check what's happening. So just see the changes in real time before you publish. Then you can actually publish that tile set. And then later this year, you're also going to be able to edit the data of your data set right in the workbench. It's not currently available. These are four bullet points I just read that are coming this year, but the workbench is going to continue to evolve. This is a big initiative for us, so it'll continue to evolve for years to come. So we do envision that the data workbench will decrease the time to test a new MTS tile set and workload from like multiple days to an hour. It's going to like really simplify how you bring your custom data to the map. So we know that we do have many customers who want to switch to tiling with MTS, but maybe they're a little confused by MTS or even possibly a little intimidated. We think Workbench is going to allow you to like learn and test and iterate on MTS recipes for free in a super easy way. So we have 3 sessions that are really dedicated towards making map making easy, and they're tomorrow and Wednesday. And my colleague Matthew Anthony is going to be showcasing Workbench to an extent as part of that process of making map making a lot easier. And with that said, Marina hit my 22-minute mark perfectly.
Perfect. Absolutely. We do have some questions in the Q&A box, so let's get started here. I've been answering a few of them as we go, but let's start with the question from Emily about the 3D details in the roofs, etc. Will those apply to all buildings? For example, a factory or storage facility in a non-residential area or an isolated hotel in a national park?
Yes, so we are still currently working on the logic behind when the procedural building detailed information shows up. So I do not want to 100% commit to anything. However, I will say it is not going to apply to all buildings across the entire, globe or even in specific areas. That's mainly because we believe that if you add this detail to every single building, it actually creates too much visual clutter that takes away from like your custom data, for example. It would also most likely create a sacrifice to performance, which we definitely don't want. We are currently planning on adding this detail and procedural buildings to any area that a custom 3D model already exists or where an HD road is going to exist so that the buildings match the detail of the rest of the map. We're also going to make sure that these procedural buildings are really in any area that's of like tourist or urban importance. And then the last thing I do want to say is that we're going to sort of release this in stages. So, like, the first release will only be select cities, and then it will sort of grow from there. So, to answer your one question directly, I would say like a obscure, out of the way hotel in the middle of nowhere is probably not going to get this unless it was like particularly commissioned by that hotel or we have a customer who specifically says like I need these hotels with these roof types, etc.
Mhm. Well, and there was another question about how to submit reports or requests like that. And I pointed folks to mapbox.com/contribute is a great place to submit specific requests and feedback. We have a question from Paul, which I think is on a lot of folks' minds. Greg, do you intend to keep the classic Mapbox styles? I like some features of standard, but I like the full-on customizability of blank maps and some of the older classic styles.
Yes, we currently don't have any intention of eliminating the classic styles. While we do believe that Mapbox Standard and 3D is the future of mapping for Mapbox and the future of mapping for many of our customers, we do understand that there are just some use cases where 3D is not the most optimal base map. So there's that. We do also understand that for some customers, for one reason or another, they just don't want to migrate to Mapbox Standard and 3D. So in those cases, the 2D styles will exist. I will say with Mapbox Standard, you can turn off the 3D models and the 3D terrain. So if it's just like we don't want 3D, then turn the models off. You get a little bit of a performance boost. You get that 2D streets, base map, etc. But you get all the benefits of standard. The primary one being that when we add something new to standard, you get it automatically without any manual style update. The second thing is if there are customizations that you want that don't exist in standard, please let us know. You can reach out to your account manager. You can do what Marina just said. Like, let us know what customizations because we hear this, and every release we add more customization opportunities to standard. And so we'd love to know what you need to get you to adopt Mapbox standard.
Fantastic. I think we're at time for this session, but for the folks who do have some open questions, I see a few about indoor maps. Definitely continue to join some of the other map sessions this week. Greg, was there anything you wanted to add about indoor maps?
I didn't see the actual question, but I will say about indoor maps, this is something we're super excited about. And I told you we're bringing those airport models. We're looking to bring the ability to bring your own models. Um, Indoor maps is definitely still in the beginning phases of like bringing that to a base map at Mapbox. So we're super excited to hear like what you are interested in terms of functionality. So yeah, if you have any requests or feedback, definitely reach out to your account manager, and you can really help us be on the forefront of developing, like merging a already existing 3D base map with an indoor model, and how do you naturally bring that indoor model to the 3D base map?
Right, great. Thank you so much, Greg. We're at time. We want to make sure we have time for folks to move over to the next session, which is all about what's new in Mapbox Search. So thank you, Greg. Thank you, everyone, for joining live. See you in the next one.
Thank you.